Good evening. My name is Sybil Mullen, and my week 4 assignment is on capital budgeting. What are capital budgets? Capital budgeting is the process of analyzing investment opportunities and deciding which ones to accept. Capital budgeting in business can be compared to the budgeting we do in our personal lives. In our daily lives, we plan for vacations, emergency expenses, or major purchases by budgeting so that we are able to afford the things that we desire. So how do we use capital budgets? In business, budgeting works the same way. A capital budget lists the projects and investments that a company plans to undertake during the next period. So basically, incremental earnings affect capital budgets and cash flow. Essentially, incremental earnings have to do with the financial growth of a company is expected to generate after investing decisions have been made. So how do capital budgets affect business decisions? Basically, capital budgeting is important because it creates accountability and measurability. Any business that seeks to invest its resources in a project without understanding the risks and the returns involved would be held as irresponsible by its owners or shareholders. Furthermore, if a business has no way of measuring the effectiveness of its investment decisions, chances are that the business will have very little chance of surviving in the competitive marketplace. How does capital budgeting work? When a company is presented with a capital budgeting decision, one of its first tasks is to determine whether or not the project will prove to be profitable. The payback period, the internal rate of return, and net present value methods are the most common approaches to project selection. Although an ideal capital budgeting solution is such that all three metrics will indicate the same decision, these approaches will often produce contradictory results. Depending on management's preference and selection criteria, more emphasis will be placed on one approach over the other. Basically, here are some key takeaways that you need to remember. The three most common approaches to project selection are payback period, internal rate of return, and net present value. The payback period determines how long it will take a company to see enough in cash flows to recover the original investment. The internal rate of return is the expected return on a project. If the rate is higher than the cost of the capital, it is a good project. If not, then it's not. The net present value shows how profitable a project will be versus alternatives, and is perhaps the most effective of these three methods. How does it apply to different level professionals? So basically, as an entry-level professional, you may use the principles of capital budgeting to generate ideas for campaigns, projects, or investments. As a mid-level professional, you might be responsible for projecting the budget needed to fund the projects. You might also assist with cost estimates of project investments. You might also monitor the progress of all activities. On an executive level, you would approve funds needed for investments and conduct for the overview of the budget. So when I was reading and learning about all of this, one of the main things I took back from this was the mid-level professional. And one of the reasons I went back to school is to get my marketing degree. I worked for quite a few years as a marketing project coordinator. And one of the things I wanted to get into was project management, which is why I'm going back for my marketing degree. And it really stuck with me about projecting a budget. I had the opportunity that landed in my lap to basically design an entire showroom. And I had no budget. Literally, the senior VP and the COO walked past my desk and, "Hey, Sybil, we need you to go down to South Carolina and fix the factory. It doesn't have a showroom, and we like what you've done with all the trade shows. So just go down there and get that taken care of, and we need it done within the next 6 weeks because we have a big Lowe's meeting we want done down there." So I literally had to come up with an entire project of what I was going to do, the whole scope of work. I had to come up with a budget cost, telling them how much it was going to be. And of course, that project evolved into also redoing the lobby area and the welcome section. And it was fabulous, but it was literally the first time I had a project from start to finish just given to me. So that's one of the things that it really stuck to me, that was something that I did as a mid-level professional. So I'm very excited to see different ways, and I'm learning how accounting actually helps in what I plan to do in the future. References.